On the morning of February 9th, 2004, Maura Murray emailed her professors at UMass saying that she would have to miss classes for a few days due to a death in the family. At 3:15, we withdrew $280 from her bank account, went to a nearby liquor store and purchased $40 worth of alcohol. She drove for 2 hours and a half from UMass Amherst to Haverhill, close to the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Around 7:30 p.m., Maura had a car accident on a hairpin turn in Route 112 on the Wild Ammonoosuc Road. Maura had already vanished by the time police arrived on the scene just 10 minutes after. The officers at the scene noted that Maura's car had been locked and there was a box of wine in the back seat and a rack in the tailpipe. She told no one where she was going. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my podcast. Today is Thursday, and this means it's crime time. If you like true crime and enjoy listening to my content, please do subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, let's start with today's episode. In this second episode, part 2, we will talk about the time that Maura was put on probation for credit card theft. She used a receipt she found in the trash next to her dorm room and used the credit card number to order approximately $40 worth of fast food. A large quantity of food for just a single person, isn't it? Probably she was sharing the food with someone else, or it was her purging the food, as she was known for being bulimic. Police did not arrest her for this credit card fraud, but a picture of her was taken outside her dorm room and she was set on probation at that time. It had actually been the second time that she had been caught in a situation where police were involved. The first time at West Point and the theft in the commissary, and this second time around for credit card fraud. So on the weekend that Fred was in Amherst and she had a car accident with Fred's car, it would have been the third time that she would have probably got a DUI, but we don't understand why she was not charged with a DUI, because she was clearly driving under the influence when she hit against the guardrail. Probably, I don't know. We don't even know if she was tested for drugs and alcohol, but she was clearly driving under the influence because she had been drinking. She was coming back from a party, so it's obvious that. Furthermore, it was a Saturday night, so police could have thought, hey, this girl is probably driving under the influence of alcohol. Let's test her, but they did not. So otherwise, she would have gotten DUI. For those who don't know what DUI means, DUI stands for driving under the influence. It can be either the influence of alcohol, drugs, or any other substances which make you not suitable for driving. So, on the day she disappeared, on February 9th, 2004, when she was driving along Route 112 on the way to the White Mountains, she had another accident. And she was drinking while driving. At least there were fresh stains of wine on the car's upholstery, and alcoholic drinks were found in the car, left behind. And remember that she had to spend $40 in alcohol in the liquor store. However, the damage caused to Mora's car, it is not consistent with the elements that surrounded the crash site. The snowbanks alongside the road or the trees. Mm, Patrice Vassi was hit by a hit-and-run car on the morning that Maura looked so distraught and almost had to be escorted to her dorm room by her supervisor, Karen Mayotte. Patrice Vassi was hit by a hit-and-run car in the campus in UMass, and he was not the first person to be hit by a hit-and-run car. That there had been another three more. So it was a pretty dangerous area to be a student, I assume, because three victims of a hit-and-run car. Vassi survived, but he was a whole month in a coma. So Patrice Vassi was hit by a car that it is unknown to this day. But the coincidence is that Maura looked so distraught, and the theory says that on her break from work, she went to grab a coffee and presumably hit Patrick Vassi and left him there by the side of the road. And as I said, Vassi was in a coma for a month, and when he woke up, he did not remember a thing about the accident. So, she looked so shaken up and couldn't even form a whole sentence. She was an emotional wreck. She then could have made up a story about her sister calling her. There is absolutely no evidence of this. This was a strong theory at the time, because the timeline does work, and it would explain the state she was left in. But on the contrary, her sister's story could also be plausible. Maura's sister Kathleen, her older sister, explained on the documentary that she had indeed been on the phone with Maura, and she was heavily drugged by sleeping pills and alcohol mixture, and this dangerous combination started to kick in whilst she was on the phone with Maura. So, when she had the accident on Route 112, she could have freaked out and thought, this time I probably get a DUI. And since she was still on probation for the credit card fraud, she could have had to face trial and be dismissed from UMass. And this would have been the second university she'd been dismissed from. And she could not obviously handle that. And that's what everyone thought at first. Now, let's set the timeline of events on the night she disappeared. At 2:05 p.m., she calls Stowe Mountain, a ski resort in Vermont. At 2:18 p.m., she calls Bill, her boyfriend, who was in New City. At 2:37 p.m., she calls her dorm room's phone to check on possible messages left whilst she was away. Or also, it's been said that it could have also been to delete messages. We don't know for sure, this last one. Now, at 3:15 p.m., she took out all her money from her bank account. Then she went to a nearby liquor store and purchased $40 worth of alcohol, Kahlua wine, and a six-pack of Seagrams, which is a wine cooler. Kahlua wine, Seagrams, all of that is presumably stuff to make White Russians a pretty common drink for young people. Then there's a call to Bartlett in New Hampshire to rent a condo, and the condo is located 90 minutes drive from Amherst. It was later known that this condo is somewhere that she used to go when she was younger with Fred and her sisters. And at 7:30 p.m., she has the accident. The spot where she had the crash was quite remote, but there were a few houses around and a lot of witnesses. For the remote area there were quite a few witnesses, so we know what happened because of those witnesses. The evidence at the scene indicated that the vehicle was facing west in the eastbound lane on the Wild Music Road, also known as Route 112. It had gone off the roadway, struck some trees, spun around, and came to rest, facing the wrong way in the eastbound lane. The driver's side of the windshield was cracked and both airbags had been deployed. The vehicle was locked. The dispatch log from the Haverhill Police Department says that at 7:27 p.m., Faith Westman, one of the neighbors that lived in the nearby houses, reported a car in the ditch right on the hairpin turn after the old weathered barn. Faith Westman was not sure if someone had been injured, but she claimed she saw a man in the vehicle smoking a cigarette. Later, Faith admitted she could have made a mistake about the man in the car smoking a cigarette, because apparently Maura Murray was driving alone. So we don't know who this mysterious man smoking the cigarette was, or it could have been like a red light inside the car, as she later claimed that she was doubting her own statement, because this was a very important piece of information she gave out. Because if there had been another person, she wouldn't have been driving alone, so somebody probably could have known where she was going to. The other witness was John Marot, an old gentleman who lived on the north side of the street. The trees in front of John Marot's house were bare, so he was able to see the car and was able to see Maura from the kitchen window. John Marot said he saw her getting out of the car and walking around the car, and the next time he looked, the police were there, but she was gone. So it was that fast. Because probably sometimes you don't realize that you are about to see something spectacular through your window, through your kitchen window. You're just basically, I don't know, probably making coffee or cooking, or I don't know, just looking through the window and you see people, but you never know that probably your eyewitness is going to be this relevant in this situation, so we cannot blame him. But the first person to talk to Maura right after the accident was Butch Atwood. He was a school bus driver who lived just across the road from where Maura had crashed. Butch is crucial in this story because he was the first person to talk to Maura after she had the accident. According to Butch, he offered help and offered her to call 911. But Maura refused and said, "Please don't call 911. I've already called AAA. AAA is a tow truck company." Butch knew straight away that she was lying because there is absolutely no phone service in that area. He knew well because he lived right there. It was later determined that there was indeed no service up there, so it's impossible. She couldn't have possibly called AAA. It was a lie. She didn't want the attention of police because she probably could have gotten a DUI this time. So it's safe to establish the timeline of events as Faith Westman sees the accident, apparently sees the man smoking the cigarette inside the car, calls 911 while Butch Atwood pulls up his bus, talks to Maura, and offers assistance, which she declines. At 7:43, Butch goes into his house and tells his wife to call 911, despite Maura saying not to. At 7:54, a bolo was issued. Bolo stands for "be on the lookout." This this leaves a very short window of time for Maura. So many witnesses and none of them saw her disappear. Was there an opportunistic criminal who took her? while people weren't looking? Did she run into the woods trying to escape from the police? Did a car pull over and take her? Lots of questions and zero answers. On the next episode, on part 3, we'll talk about the theories that came out, the possible reasons, and the likely outcome of this case. That's all for today, guys. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.